Hello everybody, this is Imelda.
And this is Madeline, and we're reading the Sight for Wight news for Friday the 11th of October. On Tuesday the 15th of October, the swimming group are swimming at the waterside pool in Ryde from 8 p.m. until 8:45 p.m. The pool is closed to the public whilst the group swims. There are male and female volunteers to help you get in and out of the pool, as well as lifeguards to ensure your safety. To join the swimming group, please call Sight for Wight first to notify us of your swimming ability. You need to register with the office at Millbrook House first to be able to swim with the group. On Wednesday, the 16th of October, the weekly coffee morning will be held at Millbrook House this week from 10 a.m. until 11:30 a.m. There will also be our low vision drop-in between 10 a.m. and 12 noon. This is a weekly event to allow you to view and try the low vision equipment we have at Sight for Wight without the need for an appointment. The Sight for Wight's Members Forum takes place at Millbrook House at 11:30 a.m. until 1 p.m. More information is available in the Any Other News section. On Thursday, the 17th of October, the Thursday social group are meeting at Millbrook House. The group meets from 10:30 a.m. until 2 p.m. With the help of a volunteer, the group enjoy a number of activities, crosswords, catching up on news and trivia, knitting and crochet. They are currently making pom-poms to make into a rug, as well as decorations for the Sight for Wight Christmas tree. This is a very friendly mixed group, also love to chat and enjoy lunch together. Later in the afternoon, volunteers come in and read to the group on different topics. If you would like to join the group, then please contact the charity on 522205.
And any other news. Sight for Wight takes pleasure in inviting members to the Sight for Wight Members Forum on Wednesday, on the 16th of October at Millbrook House from 11:30 a.m. until 1 p.m. RSVP and advance questions by Monday the 14th of October, please. For further information, please email enquiries@iwsb.org.uk or telephone 522205. Diaries and calendars. It's time to order your VIP diaries and calendars. Please note that the suppliers of VIP diaries have now imposed a minimum number for orders that we place on your behalf. Therefore, we will place orders on the following dates: 21st of October, 11th of November, 25th of November, and then a final order on Wednesday the 3rd of December. Any orders after this date will need to be made directly by members to the diary company. Prices are as follows: pocket diary A6 size with cover, week to a view, £5.75. Pocket diary A6 insert only, week to a view, £5.30. Midi diary A5, week to a view, £7.65. Jumbo diary A4, week to a view, 2 pages, 2 days per page, £21. Desk diary A4, week to a view, £9.45. Wall hanging calendar A3, £6.25. Wall hanging dates reminder, £5.75. To place your order, please contact Laura Jasper, members@iwsb.org.uk, or phone 522205. The West Wight Coffee and Chat, which takes place at the end of the Line Cafe in Freshwater, has now ended due to declining numbers, and we apologise for any inconvenience. Possible new audio book group. Alistair has run the Freshwater Library audio book group for many years and is now looking to start a new one at Sandown Library. If you would be interested in joining the group, please contact Sandown Library on 402748 with your name and contact details, and they will pass on your details to Alistair. Days and times to be arranged once we have an idea of interest. Please note that this group is not run by Sight for Wight. We're just advertising on Alistair's behalf. Christmas tree decorations. If any member would like to make a Christmas tree decoration for our tree to be displayed at Bryston Christmas Tree Festival in December, preferably in blue and gold colours, but not essential, they are more than welcome to either drop them off at Millbrook House or send in by the end of November, and that would be fantastic. The Listening Book Group at Freshwater Library is keen for new members. Their next meeting is at the library at 11 a.m. on the 29th of October. Please pass this information on to anyone who is interested. If you would like more information, please call on 752377 or send me an email on anna.britton@iow.gov.uk.
Sight for Wight has the following donated second-hand items for sale. All items are in working order and are sold as seen. RNIB Pen Friend version 1 with instructions and labels, £25. Cobalt Speechmaster Talking Microwave 2016 model in good used condition, £80. Daylight standing floor lamp on wheels, so able to move around, good used condition, £20. Enhanced Vision Smart Reader with control handset, good used condition, £300. If you would like to view or purchase any of these items, please contact Laura Jasper on members@iwsb.org.uk or phone the charity on 522205. Raffle tickets are now available for our annual raffle, which will be drawn on the 31st of October. The tickets are £1 each and come in a book of 5 tickets. Please contact Sight for Wight on 522205 or email enquiries@iwsb.org.uk if you would like to purchase tickets. Visit to the Isle of Wight Distillery on Monday the 11th of November. Meet first at 10:30 a.m. at the Old Barracks Tea Room in Puckpool Park, Ryde, followed by a talk and tasting at 12 noon for approximately 45 minutes to 1 hour at the Isle of Wight Distillery, Pondwell, Ryde. No charge for the talk or tasting. Minibus transport may be available depending on location and will cost £2. Closing date for applications is Friday the 25th of October. For further details or to book your place, please contact Laura Jasper on 522205 or email members@iwsb.org.uk. Murder Mystery Night. Join us for an evening of murder and mystery at Millbrook House on Thursday the 31st of October at 6:30 p.m. Ticket price is £10, which includes a simple 2-course supper, glass of wine, coffee and mince. We will also be drawing our annual summer raffle, so there's still a chance to buy a ticket and be in with a chance of winning some great prizes, including a first prize of £100 cash. Parking available via Castle Road, PO301DT. For booking inquiries, please contact Site for Wight on 522205 or email fundraising@iwsb.org.uk. Short Story Writing Competition 2019. Later in the programme you'll be able to hear actor Melvin Hayes promote this year's exciting competition.
This week in Touch: finding a safe meal, managing food allergies and dealing with unwanted help. Burger King had to apologise after a staff member refused to read a brownie's ingredient list to a blind woman with a nut allergy. So how should visually impaired people go about finding safe meals when eating certain foods has serious consequences? UK Hospitality Safety Advisor Dr. Lisa Ackley and Philippa Lawrence, a blind mum of 2 children with severe food allergies, share their thoughts. Descent into Darkness by Simon Mahoney tells his sight-loss story and is, he hopes, a companion guide for those going through similar. He explains why he thinks getting registered sight-impaired is important, how he deals with unwanted help, and introduces the term gratitude burnout.
And moving on to the county press headlines for the 11th of October. 2 headlines: Mum and daughter preyed on elderly, and struggling GPs quit. Mum and daughter preyed on elderly. A mother and daughter duo preyed on elderly people in a spree of thefts across the island, stealing handbags, phones, wallets and bank cards, which they used to withdraw cash. They followed one victim out of a bank and snatched an envelope containing her will, which has yet to be recovered, and £500 cash from her handbag. Dion Clark, 54, and Cheryl Clark, 26, of Lowtherville Road, Ventnor, appeared at the Isle of Wight Magistrates Court on Tuesday following their latest offence. The court heard they targeted a 91-year-old woman at Halifax in Newport High Street on September the 27th. She was followed out of the building by Dion Clark, who stole the cash and will from her bag. The pair appeared via video link from prison as they had been remanded in custody following the theft, committed while on bail for previous offences, including stealing a 78-year-old woman's handbag at the Co-op in Ryde. They had previously admitted 13 offences between them, carried out in August and September, including the theft of wallets and handbags and fraudulently using their victims' cards to withdraw cash. Dion Clark also admitted shoplifting and cannabis possession on September the 15th, and Cheryl Clark admitted burglary on September the 8th. Anne Smout, prosecuting, described their offending as a mother and daughter spree of dishonesty. Describing the latest theft at the Halifax, she said, CCTV shows the victim being followed out of the bank by Dion Clark as Cheryl walks towards the bus station. Dion caught up with the 91-year-old outside the Vodafone shop, where she picks the envelope containing the will and the £500 from her handbag. 2 men at the Vodafone shop happened to see this and ran after Dion along with the elderly victim. The defendants managed to escape but were later arrested. The victim's will has not been found. Mrs. Smout said she has been kept awake at night, afraid that her personal details are just out there. Presiding Magistrate Jane Watson said, "The totality of your offences invokes a sentencing power outside our ability, and as such we are committing this for sentencing at the Crown Court. The pair will be sentenced at the Isle of Wight Crown Court on November the 1st.
Struggling GPs quit. Beech Grove Surgery could close after the 2 GPs who run the practice said they could no longer cope with growing demand and fewer resources. They have handed back their contract to provide primary care services, giving the Isle of Wight National Health Service Clinical Council Commissioning Group, the CCG, 6 months to find alternative provision. There are 4,592 patients registered at the Brading practice, which also has a branch surgery in Lake. CCG Managing Director Alison Smith said, "Services are due to continue as usual until the end of March 2020, and patients will still be able to see the same GPs and staff. The most important thing is patients continue to use their local practice, either at Beech Grove or Lake. There is no need to change. We ask patients to do nothing until they hear further from us." Miss Smith said that the news would cause shock and disappointment, as the practice was highly regarded. She said options for future provision were being considered, and meetings had been held with neighbouring surgeries. However, the CCG had to be realistic given a shortage of GPs. The CCG will be working with the practice in the coming months to ensure a smooth transition, she said. This news has been extremely upsetting for the staff at the Brading practice, island practitioners and patients, and we would ask that the team at the Brading practice are allowed to focus on continuing their day-to-day rule of keeping their practice running as efficiently as ever. The CCG was informed the 2 GPs who run the practice were struggling to maintain their high standards of care with growing demands and limited capacity. This is a disappointing decision, but one which we understand, and one which reflects some of the pressures nationally on primary care services. After the CCG had decided on how to best to progress, a public meeting and question and answer session will be held to inform residents.
Top award for restaurant run by 22-year-old chef. The Seaview Hotel under head chef Tom Bull has retained its prestigious Michelin Bib Gourmand Award for the 5th year running. The Bib Gourmand distinction highlights restaurants offering good quality, good value cooking, and earns a coveted place in the Michelin Guides. Tom is a shining example of homegrown talent, aged just 22. He said, "To keep the Bib for 5 years running is a massive accomplishment. I am so proud of my team and for putting Isle of Wight food in the spotlight. It's a real craft getting quality cooking at an affordable price. We're lucky on the Isle of Wight to have an abundance of quality ingredients, from amazing vegetables, award-winning cheeses, the best crab on the planet, as well as the juiciest tomatoes and stunning garlic. To these add an amazing team of dedicated chefs who keep pushing to attain more, and you have all the ingredients for success." Gwendol Pulenek, International Director of the Michelin Guide, said, "Our Michelin Bib Gourmand may be less famous than our Michelin stars, but this distinction has a big following among our readers. There are only 132 Michelin Bib Gourmand venues in the UK. The restaurant at the Seaview Hotel was the first and so far only Isle of Wight venue awarded the bib. It also has 2 AA rosettes and has been listed in the Good Food Guide.
Police officers accused of gross misconduct. 8 Hampshire and Isle of Wight police officers have been accused of gross misconducts following an investigation into alleged use of inappropriate and prejudiced language and behaviour at the Serious and Organised Crime Unit in Basingstoke. A police spokesperson said, "This has been a complex and lengthy investigation involving 17 police officers and 4 members of police staff. Under the supervision of the Superintendent Officer for Police Conduct, IOPC, the Professional Standards Department has taken time to deal with the volume of material, provided those involved with the opportunity to consider the evidence, prepare statements, and be interviewed and make determinations. The investigation found 8 officers and 1 staff member had a case to answer for gross misconduct and will face misconduct hearings. 5 officers and 2 staff members had a case to answer for misconduct and received management action. 3 officers and 1 staff member had no case to answer for misconduct, and 1 officer with a case to answer for misconduct has resigned. Following the hearings, those accused of misconduct could be dismissed, with or without notice, given a written warning or management advice, or found to have no case to answer. No officers have been named at this stage, and the force has not confirmed if any of the officers are based on the island. The names will be made public when further details are released about the misconduct hearing. Police and Crime Commissioner Michael Lane said, "On being made aware of the situation, I challenge the Chief Constable to shine a light into every dark corner of the organisation to ensure the highest standards are being met. It is important this complex and thorough investigation has now been concluded, and those found to have a case to answer will be required to do so at a formal hearing. Our constabulary is here to protect our communities. Policing is given powers to enable that, but with those powers comes a responsibility for the organisation and every individual within it to hold themselves to the highest standards of probity and ethical behaviours. Unacceptable behaviour must be challenged and investigated."
Isle of Wight activists join demo in London. Around 20 Isle of Wight Extinction Rebellion activists joined tens of thousands of protesters in London this week to demand action to tackle the climate crisis. Islander Holly Falleck, who has been helping in the family area at the Mall, said, "People are sick and tired of the government's complacency. The world is burning and people are already dying as a result of climate change, while the greed of the West continues to feed this fire. The protests are our way of saying enough is enough. Action must be taken, not only by the government, but by institutions such as the BBC and big businesses. Isle of Wight Extinction Rebellion will hold a solidarity event at Bar 74 Ride at 2 p.m. on Saturday, with talks from returning activists, music and live streams of the protests."
Teenage father broke baby daughter's ribs. A sleep-deprived teen-age father broke his baby's ribs by squeezing her too hard. Levy Hudson, now 20 years old, was 17 at the time of the incident. His baby daughter was 5 weeks old. He appeared at the Isle of Wight Crown Court last Friday, where he admitted one count of grievous bodily harm. Prosecutor Rose Burns said, on November the 12th, 2016, the baby's mother took her to the paediatrician for a routine check. The doctor discovered signs of bruising around her shoulders. A scan revealed 2 of the child's ribs had been broken. The paediatrician raised the issue to social services, who interviewed the parents. Hudson explained his daughter had been restless and wouldn't settle. He was tired and felt helpless, so he just squeezed her in his arms as he cradled her. He said he didn't mean to hurt her, but as he squeezed her, he admitted he heard 2 faint clicking sounds. The court heard Hudson was horrified at himself and broke off contact with his child entirely, declaring himself an awful person. For Hudson, Oscar Vincent said, this was a momentary loss of control from a tired, unprepared parent. This is an offence of some age, and I am happy to report the child has made a full recovery. He was 17. He had been sleep deprived for several nights and he just lost control for a brief moment. However, the mother of the little girl said she would never forgive her former partner. Lauren Danaher said after the hearing, I hate him for what he did to my daughter. She's okay now, but I'll never get over it. For people in that court to say he was sleep deprived, as if that's an excuse, they should be ashamed. It's not okay. What he did was not okay. He has not been properly punished for what he has done. Judge Ian Hughes said, I accept you in no way meant to cause any harm to your daughter, and I will be sentencing you accordingly. This was a simple mistake you made, but you shouldn't lose the chance to be a father. Hudson of Longmead Road, Ryde, received an 18-month community order with 25 rehabilitation days.
Call for £5 NHS ferry fare. MP Bob Seeley has said fares for NHS patients travelling to the mainland should be capped at £5. Speaking in the Commons, he called for more health funding as part of the island deal, which Prime Minister Boris Johnson has agreed to in principle. Calling for NHS subsidies, he said, while Scottish Islands have the Scottish Island Needs Allowance, there was no equivalent in England. He said annual additional costs of providing a national level of healthcare on the island has been assessed at £8.9 million for hospital services, £1.5 million for ambulance services, and £500,000 for patients' ferry travel. Health Minister Joe Churchill said, we recognise the island faces different challenges to the mainland. It represents a very distinct healthcare environment, being dependent on acute services close by, but with the difficulty of travelling across the water and the challenges that brings. The government is committed to ensuring all patients, irrespective of where they live, receive high-quality healthcare. Afterwards, Mr. Seeley said, the important thing is we've started the conversation with ministers about the additional costs of providing our public services, in this case healthcare. The next step will be meetings with ministers and officials. It was important the government accepted there are additional costs with providing island health services. For generations we've been underfunded because our additional costs haven't been recognised. I want to thank NHS staff for the great work they do. It is my intention staff are better supported in the years ahead to enable them to deliver the standards they and islanders want. However, Island Labour Chair Julian Critchley said the answer was not to subsidise fares with taxpayers' money, but to regulate the ferry companies, requiring they provide free travel. He said, "I do tire of Mr. Seeley making a lot of noise about these issues, as if it isn't the same Conservative Party causing the problems in the first place."
Get ready for Frosty 5-kilometre phone run. A chilly charity challenge featuring a sea of snowmen and giant icicle igloo will be held at Tapnell Farm. Hosted by the Wessex Cancer Trust, the Frosty 5-kilometre fundraiser will take place on Sunday, November the 24th. The charity's community engagement manager, Lorraine Wife, said, "If ever there was an event to get you in the festive mood, this has got to be it. It's a fun winter run for all the family, with a 2.5-kilometre option, so it's not too gruelling for the little legs. There will also be a winter village with festive food, Christmas music and a giant snow globe for photos."
Development plan for Ryde. Plans to expand Wright Business Park by building new homes, a GP surgery, gym and cafe have been drawn up by the Isle of Wight Council. But a Ryde councillor has criticised access to the proposed development as breathtakingly inadequate. As part of the council's regeneration strategy to bring jobs and investment to the island, the scheme aims to improve access to community facilities at the Nicholson Road site. The authority said the expansion would enhance the attractiveness of Wright Business Park by providing new modern units and a high-quality landscaped setting. The proposals include 15 houses, a GP surgery, pharmacy, gym and community cafe, as well as open spaces including a main square and garden. However, following a Ryde Town Council Planning Committee meeting where residents and councillors raised concerns, Councillor Philip Jordan said, "Suitable and sustainable roads should be built first." The scheme includes plans for a main road through the site, continuing past the Royal Mail Delivery Office to Smallbrook Lane. Councillor Jordan said, "The proposed entry and exit to the development is entirely and breathtakingly inadequate. It does not address the already heavily congested junction, and there are no proposals to increase capacity at other junctions. We will see hundreds, if not thousands, of extra vehicle journeys per day in this area. If the scheme is approved, the project would be delivered in phases. The first phase would include the development of a community hub and landscaped route through the site, and the creation of ponds to help combat flooding. Phase 2 would see the office buildings and supporting infrastructure built, followed by industrial units during Phase 3. A decision is due in December.
Lifeguards of the future. Children learned how to become lifeguards at the 3rd Annual Life Saving Society RLSS Rookies Week event held at the Waterside Pool in Ryde. In total, 26 young people took part in a mixture of classroom, pool and ocean activities aimed at gaining bronze to gold RLSA Rookie Lifeguard Awards and educating the next generation of island lifeguards. In addition to learning new skills, they were taught about beach lifeguarding and cold water shock, following on from the Swim England RNLI Swim Safe programme in Sandown, which is taught by RLSS teachers. Beach lifeguard manager Trod Miller said, "It was great to have so many children participating in our Rookies Week this year. Not only did everyone have great fun, but they learned and demonstrated skills throughout the week that may one day save lives. These rookie lifeguards will undoubtedly become our future pool and beach lifeguards here on the island. The programme, run by Ride Beach Lifeguards and the Waterside Community Trust, have seen several past rookies pursue a career in lifeguarding, with many continuing their development at the Trust Centre itself.
Emergency crews praised after crash. The families of 2 teenagers involved in a horror crash in freshwater, which saw a 17-year-old boy airlifted to the mainland with 2 broken legs, have paid tribute to the emergency services who rescued them. The 2-vehicle collision took place at Afton Road on Saturday night. Police, paramedics from the Isle of Wight Ambulance Service, the Hampshire and Isle of Wight Air Ambulance and firefighters from Freshwater and Newport were called to the scene shortly before 8:30 p.m. Calvin, the father of 17-year-old driver Joss, who was airlifted to hospital, thanked the emergency crews, St Mary's Hospital staff and the staff at Southampton General's Specialist Trauma Unit. Speaking the morning after the crash, he said, "Thank you all for your professionalism. I truly thought our son was dead when we first arrived. Joss was airlifted to Southampton this morning by the wonderful air ambulance. They are spending time getting him stable as he has broken both femurs and one is open. Internally, all checks are clear. My wife and I are in absolute bits. He is a lovely nipper who wouldn't hurt anyone." The passenger in the car, 17-year-old Bryony, was taken to St Mary's Hospital. Her mother, Joanna, said, "The crash was the worst moment of my life." Praising the emergency services, she said, "You guys were so on the money. I can't thank you enough." Bryony is doing a lot better. She's had a rough day yesterday. She has a cannula in and is on a drip. She has 3 minor fractures, but that's all, hopefully. She's black and blue all over. We were worried about internal bleeding, but she appears to be okay in that respect. Once again, I cannot thank you all enough.
Huge retail park, one step closer. Plans for a new retail and leisure complex at St George's Park, Newport, rumoured to include a McDonald's drive-through, Aldi and Wickes, have been recommended for conditional approval. The Isle of Wight Council's Planning Committee is due to meet on Tuesday to discuss the application submitted by South Coast Leisure in November. Officers have recommended the development is granted planning permission, with several conditions attached. The 3 retail warehouses can only sell certain products. One with a garden centre cannot sell clothes, and the others cannot sell food. Lighting cannot be installed without council's permission, and noise restrictions have been placed on the reversing alarms of delivery vehicles. Newport and Carisbrooke Parish Council, along with Cycle Wight and 14 residents, objected to the development. They raised concerns it would compete with town centre shops and said there were already too many food stores on the Isle of Wight. However, the application was supported by the Isle of Wight Chamber of Commerce, the Newport Isle of Wight Football Supporters Society, and 12 residents who welcomed the creation of 200 jobs and said a larger commercial development was needed in the town. The complex would include 289 parking spaces. Previous plans for a 24-hour gym have been dropped. Following news, another one was set to open at Coppins Bridge. Newport FC will be relocated to a new stadium sponsored by White Fibre and called White Fibre Park, off the racecourse roundabout at Whippingham.
Bengal tiger Aisha dies. A popular tiger at the Isle of Wight Zoo has died. Bengal tiger Aisha reached the grand age of 21. Her health had gradually declined. Aisha and her brother Diamond, who died 5 years ago, arrived at the zoo in 1998 when they were just 3 months old. Charlotte Corney, founder of the Wild Heart Trust, said, "I'll never forget the day Aisha and Diamond arrived. She jumped up to greet me and came up to my knee. With her signature scrubbed-off nose and cheery chuffs, she took me captive from day one." Aisha was popular with visitors who would come specifically to see her. Education manager Tracy Dove said, "School children used to love that Aisha would see or hear them coming down to her enclosure. She would run over, chuffing and rubbing her head along the fence." Charlotte said, "She sparkled and shone her way into each and every heart."
Mammoth Trawler off coast of the island. The world's second largest trawler, banned from Australian waters, was seen off Ventnor last week. Margaris, a 142-metre Lithuanian fishing vessel weighing close to 9,500 tonnes, is thought to possess 250 tonnes of fish a day. Trawling is criticised for its lack of selectivity and the damage to the seabed. Mark Curtis of Captain Stan's fish shop, Bembridge, said, "This vessel has caused mass destruction of the environment and is banned from many seas, but it is allowed to wreak havoc in our territorial waters. You dread to think what's being caught up in it. It wasn't long ago all the dolphins were spotted around the island. It just shows how the whole industry has been mismanaged. It's madness. It's completely insane. This cannot be allowed to go on." Well, with that, we say hope you have a good weekend, although the weather looks awful. And it's goodbye from Imelda.
And it's goodbye from Madeline.
Stephen.
Hello, I'm Jan.
And we'll be reading the letters and features pages of the County Press this week, starting with a letter from Joe Davies of Newport, headlined "More Holes Than the Ozone Layer." I saw Mr. Mime's column on climate change protesters in the County Press of the 27th of the 9th. Mr. Mime, it's interesting to me that you would be on board with a protest about ferry prices, something we agree on, but not an issue scientists and policymakers agree is a genuine threat to our way of life. Do you think the survival of our planet is more important than how much we pay on the ferry? Can you really say you're not a climate change denier if you then go into deny climate change is an important issue? If we were driving down the motorway and your petrol light came on and you acknowledged you needed more petrol but refused to do so, are you telling me that you're not a low fuel light denier? At least those who deny climate change exists are consistently wrong. Mr. Mime pointed out the glaring hypocrisy that the same protesters telling us our carbon emissions are too high were in the 1980s campaigning against shutting down the mines. This does take a little bit of mental gymnastics, given he said earlier in the column the protesters were a bunch of lefties and school kids. Is Mr. Mime aware that the 1980s were in fact 30 years ago, and that the miners' strikes occurred 19 years before the oldest schoolchild in the UK was born? If we do not seriously reduce the amount of greenhouse emissions we release into the atmosphere every year, the world as we know it today will not exist by the end of this century. That might not bother Mr. Mime, but it bothers me, because I expect to live to see the year 2100, and that is about the time I expect my future grandchildren to be only reaching their 30s or 40s. If Mr. Mime is concerned by a peaceful protest in Newport, could I ask whether he is also concerned by the measurable increase in floods, hurricanes and El Niño weather patterns that scientists unambiguously say are caused by climate change? What about the IPCC report this week that shows current levels of global warming could put much of the Isle of Wight underwater, thanks to rising sea levels, within the next 80 years? It isn't any more damaging to tell children about the very real problems that climate change is going to cause in the very near future, and indeed is causing right now, than it is to teach them how to safely cross the road or not wander off with strangers. We have known about climate change, with no room for doubt, for at least 30 years. My generation shouldn't have to be campaigning against this. Sadly, your generation left us no choice.
And from J. Gibbons of Ryde, after reading the account of the climate demonstration and the excellent article by Malcolm Mime, 2 points occur to me. 1. Will the parents be fined for allowing their children to take part during school hours? Or are the authorities conniving or even encouraging children to take part in some political demonstrations? Will that attitude be extended to causes of which the authorities do not approve? 2. If the children ever find out we adults are robbing them blind, we could all be in trouble. For decades, politicians have overspent the country's income in order to give us a better standard of living than we can earn. They do this by irresponsible borrowing. We pay more than £1 billion interest every week now. Who is going to have to pay off our debts or continuing to pay the interest? Imagine what that's going to be like when the children grow up.
Now a letter from John Nuttall of Ryde, headlined, "Oh, the suspense." I await the next instalment of projects for the island with bated breath. The floating bridge? Who was responsible for ordering this vessel at great expense to the taxpayers? I would have thought marine experts would have been consulted. Now we have St Mary's new roundabout going to cause more chaos, and new house building totally out of control, with no forward thinking. You couldn't make it up. Polite suggestion. When spending budgets, imagine it is coming out of your own pocket.
And Georgina Broadhurst titles her letter, "Bins in the Bays." We are just back from a bracing walk in Brook and Compton Bays. As usual, it was enjoyable, but we were shocked by the sheer quantity and variety of plastic blown up by recent storms. We could not recall it ever having been so bad. We always take a carrier bag to collect rubbish, and it was soon chock-a-block. We also collected several large plastic containers. Other walkers praised us, but it would be so much better if every time anyone visited the beach, they took a bag to collect man-made plastic detritus. If we all took even a few pieces of plastic home with us, what a difference we could all make. It would also be excellent PR for Biffa or for Amy if they were to sponsor a large bin at the car park, which would be encouragement for people to collect rubbish without the need to take it home.
And now a letter from Jonathan Young of Freshwater, headlined, "Where's Sense?" I have a couple of questions for South Western Railway. We all know travel connections to the island are disjointed and delay strewn. Lord Adonis highlighted it, and a regular family visitor suffers it almost every time he visits us. It's a complete embarrassment, but sometimes a little common sense could do wonders. Last Friday, the 5:06 p.m. from Waterloo arrived 5 minutes late at Brockenhurst at the precise time almost to the second of the scheduled departure of the Lymington train from the adjoining platform. As the train pulled in, and with its doors about to open, someone decided the Lymington train should take off precisely on time. This in spite of the fact that South Western Railways operated both services, knew the London train was carrying passengers for Yarmouth booked on through rail tickets, knew or should have known there would be a 16-minute cushion at Lymington to achieve the ferry connection, knew the loss of the connection would involve a long delay for island passengers. Does common sense no longer form part of basic management training? And does it not care one jot for customer service?
And this is by Superintendent Sarah Jackson, who says, keep young and old safe at Halloween. Summer has drawn to a close, but as we move into autumn, we will remain incredibly busy in the policing world. I have already seen residents preparing for Halloween at the end of this month, which for the majority is an evening for fun and games. However, I appreciate that this can often be a time when our communities are frightened or disturbed, particularly by people out trick-or-treating. Our advice to those of you feeling worried is, if you do not know who is calling at your house, you do not need to open the door. And if you ever feel threatened, then call the police. You can also visit our website, where you will find printable posters which you can place in your window to make trick-or-treaters aware that you do not wish to be disturbed. Trick-or-treating is very popular, so if your kids are out and about on Halloween, please remind them to stay in a group, preferably accompanied by an adult, not to accept lifts from strangers, to carry a torch, and consider road safety at all times. On Tuesday, October the 15th, I will be hosting an award ceremony to praise officers on the Isle of Wight. This ceremony takes place twice a year and is an opportunity to reflect on work undertaken by officers who work tirelessly to keep the public safe. Last month, our neighbourhood policing teams had the privilege of visiting island schools with reformed gang member Omar Sharif to educate children on the dangers of carrying knives as part of the national Operation Sceptre campaign. In total, more than 2,000 pupils were spoken to from schools across the island, including Priory School, Medina College, Ryde School, and the Island Free School. Omar, who is a Pride of Britain award winner, spoke about his own experiences with a view to inspiring the children to make positive life choices. The Isle of Wight is not considered a hot spot for knife crime, but I am confident preventative solutions such as this will continue to keep our communities and our young people safer. If you are concerned about someone carrying a knife, call us on 101 or contact Crime Stoppers anonymously on 0800 555 111.
And now a selection of what's on items, starting with news from the Isle of Wight Symphony Orchestra, who have a new season starting. Tickets are now on general sale for the Isle of Wight Symphony Orchestra's first concert of the season. The concert on November the 16th will be held as usual at Medina Theatre at 7:15 p.m. The concert will be open with the popular Karelia Suite by Sibelius. The orchestra will then welcome a young soloist for a rare performance of the Viola Concerto by Cecil Forsyth. The work, first performed in 1903, was regularly heard at the promenade concerts conducted by Sir Henry Wood, but is now somewhat neglected. The orchestra has been lucky to secure the services of up-and-coming viola star Timothy Rideout. Timothy was the winner of the prestigious Lionel Tertis International Viola Competition in 2016 and is now in great demand in the UK and abroad. After the interval, the orchestra will perform the first symphony by William Walton. It was first performed in its entirety in 1935, although 3 movements had been premiered in 1934, and was immediately met with great acclaim. Tickets have been kept the same as last season, that's £15 for adults, £6 for under 18s, and are available from the Medina Theatre box office on 823 884 or online at the orchestra and theatre websites, and those addresses are www.iwso.co.uk and www.medinatheatre.co.uk. The article that we featured on October the 4th, featuring the 2018 series of concerts, was incorrect due to the wrong information being supplied.
And win tickets to see Chitty 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 Bang Bang by the Savoyards. It's a truly scrumptious offer. Win tickets to see Chitty Chitty Bang Bang at Shanklin Theatre. The classic musical is the next show to be performed by the Island Savoyards, who have teamed up with the county press to give away 4 tickets. See the story about the famous flying car from Thursday, October the 24th to Sunday, October the 27th. To win the tickets, simply send your contact details to competition@iwcp.co.uk by Thursday, October the 17th, or post your entry to Chitty Chitty Bang Bang Competition, Isle of Wight County Press, Brannan House, 123 Pyle Street, Newport, PO 30 1ST. Join the Savoyards over half-term on a fantastic musical adventure based on the beloved 1968 film and featuring an unforgettable Sherman Brothers score. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, starring Luke Cumberbatch and Emily Scotcher, is a family-friendly blockbuster that tells the story of an eccentric inventor who restores an old race car from a scrap heap with the help of his children. After discovering the car is magical, an evil baron tries to steal it, leaving the family joining forces with truly scrumptious and eccentric Grandpa Potts to try to save the day. The show, with a 40-strong cast and 12-piece live orchestra, makes it one of the biggest productions the Island Savoyards have ever embarked on. Proceeds from the show, programme sales, will go to Age UK Isle of Wight. And tickets are available from Shanklin Theatre box office on 868000 or shanklintheatre.com.
And now news of a Q&A session and workshop for aspiring authors with the writer Isabel Ashdown. Are you an aspiring author struggling to flesh out your characters? Need a little help hitting that daily word count? Fear not. Award-winning author and regular creative writing tutor Isabel Ashdown is gracing the island this month to help with exactly that. On Saturday, October 19th, Isabel will be running a half-day workshop at the Learning Centre in Sandown, bringing her unique knowledge and experience to help writers get beneath the skin of their characters. Over the afternoon, Isabel will encourage the authors to write free and instinctively to unlock strong, authentic characters who will drive their narrative forward. By the end of the session, guests will be taking away at least one character, fully fleshed out and ready to do battle on the page. The workshop will run from 1:30pm until 5:30pm, with a Q&A session at the end. For more information and to book a place, email felicity@wrightplot.co.uk.
And big screen opera and drama. Opera and classic movies will make way for some magical escapism at venues across the island this week. On Monday and Wednesday, Ventnor Film Society will screen biopic drama The Keeper, at Ventnor Arts Club, starting at 7:30 p.m. On Tuesday, Ventnor Art Club will show a live satellite broadcast of Gurguan, while on Thursday the venue will screen A Midsummer Night's Dream. Both start at 7 p.m. In Shakespeare's most famous romantic comedy, a feuding fairy king and queen of the forest cross paths with 4 runaway lovers and a troupe of actors trying to rehearse a play. As their dispute grows, the royal couple's meddling with mortal lives leads to an array of situations with hilarious but dark consequences.
And now news of a talk on an American artist and New Mexico. A colourful lecture on 20th century art from a contemporary artist who plied his trade in Santa Fe is coming to Newport's Key Arts. James Russell, who studied history at Pembroke College, Cambridge, and who enjoyed a lengthy stint selling modern art and sculpture in New Mexico City, will be giving a talk at the Bengal Theatre on Thursday. James's experiences in the United States inspired him to write and lecture on 20th century art. His talk will explore the relationship between extraordinary American painter Georgia O'Keeffe and an equally remarkable place, the picturesque state of New Mexico. Drawing on James's 20-year-long experience of living and working in New Mexico, armed with an archive of personal photographs and memories, the talk will bring to life one of America's greatest artists and one of its most beautiful areas. Doors open for drinks and light supper at 6 p.m. Students can enter free.
And hang your hat on this night of jazz, dinner included. A Cow's Yacht Club is hosting a night of food and free-form music as they prepare to host a jazz concert dinner for charity. The evening on November the 2nd, in aid of Isle of Wight Youth Jazz Orchestra, will see a quartet of players entertaining diners at the Royal Ocean Racing Club in Cowes. The concert, hosted by Willie Sanderson, will feature Alan Barnes on saxophone, Bruce Adams on trumpet, Mark Nightingale on trombone, and David Newton on piano. Mr. Sanderson said, "They are all absolutely top-class players. It's going to be a night of good standard jazz, the sort of something you can comfortably hang your hat on. Over the last 12 years, we have always filled the room and had a great time. Tickets are £29 and available from 295094.
And now an article headlined Sweet Music Reigns by Kate Young. Book your tickets now for the 6th annual Harp Festival on the Isle of Wight later this month. This popular annual music festival kicks off with Harp Catcher, a harp-themed candlelit dinner at Michelangelo Restaurant Ryde on Thursday, October the 24th. Booking is essential, and the harpist playing at the dinner is Helen Hankey, who trained at the Royal Northern College of Music and is also director of the music at Ryde School and an invaluable part of the Harp on Wight organising team. This year, all other events will take place in Ryde Methodist Church in Garfield Road, and the opening concert on Friday, October 25th will feature Ira Lynn Jones and the Royal Northern College of Music Harp Ensemble. Welsh harpist Ira is a versatile musician with a passion for creativity and originality. A multi-award winner, Ira is head of harp at RNCM and has performed at venues across the world, including on top of the Empire State Building in New York. Saturday afternoon's concert features two leading international young harpists, Claudia Lucia Lamanna from Italy and Marid Pugh Evans from Wales, who were the winner and runner-up in this year's Camac Harp competition at the North London Festival of Music and Drama. On Saturday evening, join multi-award winning Scottish harpist Ali Robertson for traditional and contemporary Scottish music. Other festival highlights will include a concert by Irish harpist Gráinne Hambley on Sunday evening, a performance by Monika Stadler of Austria on Monday evening, the Sea and Sky concert by various harpists on Tuesday afternoon, and music from the Italian duo Harp and Hang to close the event on Tuesday evening. There is also a full programme of harp workshops during the festival, designed for newcomers and more experienced harp players alike, plus a talk entitled The Contemporary Harp by festival patron Anne Benham on Monday afternoon. Throughout the festival, you can visit the harp showroom in Wright Methodist Church, which will have harps, accessories, CDs and harp sheet music for sale. For more information, see www.harponwight.co.uk. Tickets can be booked online or by visiting the festival box office at Wright Methodist Church, which is open from October the 25th to the 29th.
And at Newport Minster on Sunday the 27th of October at 3 p.m, they're holding Newport Parish Memorial Service. Local funeral directors hold memorial service. On Sunday the 27th of October, the memorial service, supported by Jeff Leather Independent Funeral Directors of Newport and Cowes, will be held at Newport Minster. This service, held annually, is open to all to come along and pay tribute to their loved ones that have passed. Mourners will be given white roses to lay at the altar during the service, led by the Reverend Kevin Arkell, Vicar of Newport Minster. As funeral directors, this is a small way in which we continue to support the families we have worked with over the years. We have families return year after year to these services as they bring great comfort. We also have refreshments after the service, and it is always a joy to sit down and catch up with everyone.
And now some forthcoming dates of performances at Shanklin Theatre. Starting with tomorrow night, Saturday the 12th, Genesis Connected, which is on at 7:30 p.m. On Sunday the 13th, the Magnificent Music Hall is on at 4 p.m. On Tuesday the 15th and Wednesday the 16th, we have Jane Eyre, which is on at 7:30. It's also on at 2:30 on Wednesday. On Saturday the 19th, the Barron Knights are playing from 7:30 p.m. And then from Thursday the 24th, Friday 25th, Saturday 26th, Sunday 27th, we've got the Island Savoyards present Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, and there are also matinee performances at 2:30 p.m. on the 26th and 27th. On Wednesday the 30th, Steve Holbrook will be playing from 7:30 p.m. And moving into November, on Friday the 1st, Christopher Cross playing from 7:30 p.m. Saturday the 2nd of November, Kevin Bloody Wilson playing from 7:30 p.m. Sunday the 3rd of November, Andy Fairweather Lowe is performing from 7:30 p.m. Thursday the 7th, Dave Gorman is performing from 8 p.m. Saturday the 9th of November, Simply Reread performing from 7:30 p.m. And on Sunday the 10th, we have Oh Goody from Tim Brooke Taylor starting at 3 p.m. You can contact the box office there on 01983 868 000.
And tickets are now available for Great Wonderfest 2020. Early bird tickets have gone on sale for the Great Wonderfest next year. Following the inaugural event hosted by Dick and Dom in August, organisers of the Family Festival have announced the release of 2020 early bird tickets, including the return of discounted tickets for Isle of Wight residents. The festival will return to Dugsmore Farm, Arraton, between August the 6th and 10th, 2020. Organisers said, "We cannot wait to bring you a show that's even more spectacular with big name acts, TV stars and fantastic family entertainment for all ages. The importance of offering something for everyone has been paramount in all aspects of the event, with a whole host of accessibility options. For further information and tickets, visit www.greatwonderfest.co.uk. greatwonderfest.com.
And now an article headline, Tokyo an Influence on Jazzy Heath Single. A musician raised on the island has released a new single. Jazzy Heath, who studied at Newport's Platform 1 Music College until 2015, unveiled her new track, I Found Love in Tokyo, through Spotify, SoundCloud and her own website, with inspiration in bountiful supply on her travels from Cheltenham to Tokyo earlier this year. Jazzy, who's 22, flew the coop with the intention of gaining new experience as a performer, in addition to enhancing her burgeoning reputation as a producer. She said, I studied commercial music at Cheltenham University, where everything seemed to blossom. My time at Platform 1 was invaluable. There, I learned about performance, promotion, and more importantly, how to channel fluctuating emotions into music. This is the third of 4 singles I'm releasing before my new album, with a few different influences guiding me along the way. I know that's super broad, but while making this album, I spent 6 months in a purple ambulance that I had spent years restoring and refurbishing previously as a space to write, making music every day without consciously trying to sound like anything. Jazzy spent the next few years carving out a reputation as an indie pop fixture on the island scene, featuring most prominently at the various summer festivals and making sporadic television appearances, notably on CBBC's Friday Night Download.
An Isle of Wight vocalist has launched her first music video. Emily Wilde, otherwise known as Amelia, released her debut single, Authority, on March the 29th, with the upcoming video for it, directed by Bembridge-based Alex Warren from Alex Len's Video Productions, and released last month. Amelia said, I'm absolutely loving the creative aspects of being a solo artist. It is an incredibly liberating feeling, and I didn't believe that I could have come this far. I am a huge lover of electronic and pop music, so I have fused the two together in my own songs, trying to draw on the life experiences that have shaped me. Having been in loads of different types of bands, from soul to funk and rock and roll, I am now flying solo and pushing for my music to be heard. Filming for Amelia's new video took place around Compton, Arraton, Newport and East Cowes over the course of several summer months, with the lyrics touching upon the perpetual flux of emotions attached to various states of love. The singer hopes to build up her portfolio in collaboration with various artists next year as she gears up for a potential debut LP release in 2020. As well as the music video, an acoustic version of Authority is released today, Friday, which will be available on platforms including Spotify, Apple Music and YouTube.
And now news of a poet inspired by heroines and the island. An award-winning poet from the Isle of Wight has had a collection of her poems published under the title Heroines on the Blue Peninsula. Becky Varley-Winter, who now lives in London, has previously won the T.R. Hen and Brewer Hall prizes for poetry and been long listed for the Foyle Young Poets of the Year and Eric Gregory Awards. She said, I was teaching a course on the history of fantasy literature when I wrote some of the poems, so there is a magical lilt influenced by that. Several of the poems are set on the Isle of Wight, and the collection was influenced by growing up here in this landscape. The sea runs through everything I do. I've been writing poems for a long time, and now I'm working on my first full-length poetry collection, which centres on themes of danger and risk. I'm lucky enough to be teaching a course on love poetry at the Poetry School in Docklands this autumn, and welcome people to come and write poems with me. A recent book launch was attended by people dressed as their heroines, with Becky adorning her best Emily Dickinson garb, a homage to one of her favourite poets. The collection sees a constant twinning between personal work and character-driven poems, with alter egos such as the Lady of Shalott and Lilith triggering accelerated narratives. Heroines on the Blue Peninsula is available to purchase online via the V Press website or the Poetry Book Society.
And this is by John Marino. The island-born Ben Attrill has taken an important step towards realising his dream of becoming a professional cricketer by joining an Australian club this winter. The highly promising 19-year-old of Simeon Path Sandown has signed for Denmark, a club of the Albany and Districts Cricket Association, to further his game. Ben, who flew out to his new home in Western Australia for the next 6 months on Tuesday, was handed his opportunity after the Isle of Wight Cricket Board's head coach, Andy Woodward, recommended him to an Australian coach at Worcester County Cricket Club. From that chat, Denmark contacted Ben and agreed a contract with him, with the new season getting underway on Saturday, October the 19th. Ben, a highly regarded all-rounder who began his cricketing education with Ventnor, as the likes of county stars Danny Briggs and Adam Hose did, went on to make his mark for Lymington in the Southern Premier League when he was 16. The teenager studied at the former Sandown Bay Academy, where he gained a scholarship to join Ryde School's sixth form, representing them at cricket with distinction, and later earning a place at Oxford Brookes University to study sports and exercise science. However, Ben has deferred his place for a year so he can take his big chance down under. I'm really excited about playing out there. It's always been a dream of mine, said Ben. I want to be a professional cricketer, but if that doesn't work out, I will study hard at uni. To be honest, I have no clue as to what the standard will be out there, but I hope to progress to second 11 county cricket when I'm back. I aim, when I'm out there, to also get into the regional side.
Another sports article now by John Marino, headlined Steve conquers 10th try for Dad. In his final event of a gruelling season, Wight tries Steve Dines completed his 10th triathlon. Steve rose to the challenge of the Hemel Hempstead Sprint Tri meeting his target of 10 triathlons for the year. Done as a tribute to his late father Jeff, a dementia sufferer, Steve set himself not just his physical goal, but to also raise money for Dementia UK. Not only did Steve want to complete the triathlons, he wanted to finish in the top 10 for his age group in each one. Steve started his triathlon journey in April at Southampton in the rain, and finished in identical conditions in Hemel Hempstead. Also in memory of his dad, Steve had named his camper van Jeff, which has a number plate personalised in his name to carry his memory with him through his 10 try challenge. Steve finished his final event in style. The triathlon started with a 400-metre snake swim in an outdoor pool, followed by a hilly, undulating 2-lap 20-kilometre bike course, finishing with an out and back 5-kilometre run course with a long ascent to the turnaround. In the wet and windy conditions, Steve finished as first veteran in the 60-64 age group class and was 32nd overall from 115 starters. Wight tries Mary Norman ran her 17th marathon, the Isle of Wight Marathon, on Sunday. She finished third woman overall and won her age group in a swift 3 hours 43 minutes and 55 seconds to end a superb year for her.
Skydive raises hundreds. A Newport man completed a skydive in memory of his late father. David Corney, 41, jumped to raise funds for prostate cancer following the death of his father, Dave Corney, a well-known inspector at Southern Vectis. David said, "I took to the sky in memory of my dad, Dave Corney, who was diagnosed with prostate cancer in January 2018 and sadly passed away 2 months later. Dad was a very respected guy. I wanted to raise awareness and raise some cash for prostate cancer, so I decided to do a 15,000-foot skydive. My dad hated heights, so I know he would have thought I was crazy doing it, but would have been proud too. The jump was out of this world, breathtaking and emotional. I have so far raised £800. Dave was 65 when he died, leaving wife Jean and family. His son David, of Furlongs, works for Medina Food Service."
And now some additional news items, first of which is that the Eastern Yar River could welcome beavers. Beavers could be introduced on the Isle of Wight as part of a plan to purchase and protect land in the Eastern Yar. An urgent £245,000 appeal has been launched by the Hampshire and Isle of Wight Wildlife Trust to buy Parsonage Farm and Hill Heath, which together form a rich tapestry of habitats from ancient woodland and river to grazed pasture and marshland. By purchasing the land, the Trust has an opportunity to give the island's nationally important wildlife the space it needs to thrive. One of the suggestions is to introduce beavers to the area as natural river engineers. The sites are adjacent to Martin's Wood, an existing Trust nature reserve, and form part of a wider network of sites which are managed by the Trust and other conservation bodies. The area would be the Trust's largest reserve on the island, totalling 124 acres. The £245,000 is needed to complete the purchase before the end of November. To find out more or to donate, go to hiwwt.org.uk/IOW appeal or call 014 8977 4408.
A record-breaking Isle of Wight sportswoman and adventurer has died at the age of 59 after battling cancer for more than 6 years. Sarah Younger's husband, Adam, has spoken to the county press following her death at the Mountbatten Hospice last month. Her achievements include setting paragliding world records, prospering in her career as a sports psychologist and business coach, giving a TEDx talk on preparing for success, and winning medals for sporting excellence. Adam said, "To say Sarah was inspiring and passionate is an understatement. A superlative sports psychologist and executive coach, her inspiration will live on with me." Sarah had a great love for flying, and what she achieved for paragliding was awe-inspiring. This was alongside her medals from World and European Championships. Sarah had also competed and won events in other sports, such as equestrianism, triathlon and sailing. After first undergoing chemotherapy in 2013, she challenged herself to try new pursuits such as firewalking and wing walking, but always had time for her friends. Sarah found happiness with husband Adam, who also loved travel and new experiences. They lived in Hampstead Road near Yarmouth. More than 200 friends and family attended her funeral, held at the Isle of Wight crematorium on September the 26th, where the readings were chosen by Sarah herself, including the poignant Slow Dance by David Weatherford, imploring people to hear the music before your song is over.
And now news that a young island dancer has bagged a top dance scholarship. A young island dancer has been offered a place at a prestigious dance academy. Jamie Mallon, who's 16, has been offered a scholarship at Addict Dance Academy, a top dance academy in Leicester. Jamie attended Nicky Cross Dance School and Linda Vincenta Byrne Dance and was planning on studying for his A-levels at Cowes Enterprise College after achieving successful GCSE results at Christ the King College. His fate shifted, however, when he attended the Louis Spence Masterclass workshop at the Mountbatten Centre in Portsmouth and was taught by Louis and 3 other top choreographers. Around 60 dancers took part and all 4 teachers were so impressed by Jamie, he was offered a place on their BTEC Extended Diploma in Performing Arts that day. Jamie accepted, which meant his family had to organise moving him up to Leicester in just a week, but he loves his new home. "I'm so proud of him," said Jamie's mother Jackie. "He's following his dreams and he's worked so hard for it." And that's all we have time for this week, so it's goodbye from me, Stephen.
And goodbye from Jan.
Goodbye.
Sight for Wight's short story writing competition is back, and this year's theme is The Sound of Christmas. Celebrity readers this year are me, Melvin Hayes, Michael Maloney, Adana Minghella and Kate Weston. Entry forms are available from Waterstones in the High Street, Newport, Dress for Less, 114 St James's Street, Newport, or Sight for Wight, 137 Carisbrooke Road, Newport. Entry fee is just £2 for under 18s and £5 for 18 plus. Closing date is Friday the 8th of November. For more information or to download your entry form, visit iwsb.org.uk or telephone Chris, good old Chris, on 522205.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Good evening. Tonight, who tells you how to cope with losing your sight? Well, according to our studio guest today, nobody does. So, having gone through the experience himself over the past few years, he's taken it on the job and written a book. It's called Descent into Darkness. Simon Mahoney, just explain what it was that prompted this book.
It was absolutely terrifying when I started to lose my sight. And what was even more appalling was that there was absolutely no information readily available to help me cope with it.
From no one?
From no one. The NHS were fine dealing with the eyes, but they didn't seem to understand sight loss and the issues involved.
Right, well, more from Simon later. But first, Burger King has apologised to a blind woman with a food allergy after she was told staff weren't allowed to read out a list of ingredients to her. Medina Hall had made her nut allergy known, but was told that while staff could give her a menu, under company policy, customers had to read it themselves. Well, Burger King subsequently said that there's no such policy, have offered Medina an apology, and they say they're looking into it. But it does raise the question, how can a visually impaired person with an allergy be certain that they're not eating something which could endanger their lives? Dr Lisa Ackley is the safety advisor for UK Hospitality. Lisa, what are the rules at the moment which people selling food have to obey?
Well, basically what they have to do is if they're asked to give some information about an allergen in food, they have to have that information available so that they can advise the customer about whether that allergen is an ingredient in any of the foods on their menu.
So do you think the law as it stands now goes far enough?
What we have at the moment is a very difficult situation, in particular in relation to foods that are pre-packed for direct sale. Businesses will have to label foods whether or not the customers can actually see the label. It's a law that won't take into account cross-contact because it only looks at ingredients in food. It's going to reduce people actually asking about allergens, and that's what we're really concerned about because we think that allergens are so important, and the only way that a business will know that they've got someone who is allergic allergic to something is if that person actually tells them.
And of course, that's the only way that a visually impaired person can be sure as well, isn't it?
Absolutely right.
In terms of the law, what would put that right?
Well, we actually feel that there should be more emphasis on training and guidance, and where you've got a packaged food that doesn't have the full ingredients list, what we actually wanted was for there to be a great big sticker on there saying, please ask about allergens. And of course, if you're visually impaired, that sticker's not going to help. The other thing is for businesses to actually ask every guest, do we need to know about any allergens? One of the things that we found is that a lot of guests who are allergic don't actually make that clear to the business before eating. So they're sort of taking a risk, and that's very dangerous for everybody.
I mean, that rather sounds as if you think there's quite a lot of responsibility actually does have to rest with the public.
Well, if the business doesn't know that someone's got an allergy, then they can't help them really. And so what we want is for people to engage in a dialogue and for this to be a partnership rather than a battle or a blame game or anything. And then the business goes through the menu and the ingredients in the menu, and also very critically anything to do with cross-contact. So, for example, if someone was making a sandwich out of fish and they went on to making an egg sandwich, there may be some potential for cross-contamination if they don't know that they have to make sure that somebody with an egg allergy has to have no egg on the food.
Wouldn't you expect, though, that after tragic cases such as the death of Natasha Ednan Laperouse, outlets would be super careful now?
Well, in that particular case, the packaging did not, at the time, need to have any full label on it in terms of ingredients or allergens. And there was a label nearby saying, please ask about allergens, which is what the law requires.
And I gather in some cases you've seen people can almost be too careful to the point where they create other kinds of potential dangers.
Well, that can happen. For example, I've seen recently people putting tongs out and saying, please don't mix the tongs up on the buffet because it might put customers at risk. But of course, that's really dangerous anyway. It would be much better for the allergic customer to say, I'm allergic to whatever it is, and the business to actually make them a meal that it hasn't been on a buffet and subject to all sorts of cross-contamination from other customers.
What advice specifically would you give to blind and partially sighted people who need to be sure that they're safe?
In a way, it's the same for everybody. But in particular, I would say ring ahead. I've got a colleague who's severely allergic to nuts, and she does ring ahead and check that the business can provide her with a safe meal. And I would say also do some risk assessment. You know, if you go into a restaurant and someone says, well, I think it's all right, then it probably isn't. You know, that's not a good enough answer. So I think we actually need to sort of make sure that people are aware to look for the signs where the business perhaps isn't as well tuned in as it might be.
Dr. Lisa Ackley, thank you very much indeed. Well, also joining us is Philippa Lomas. She's a blind mum of 2 children with serious milk and soya allergies. What was your reaction to the story?
It's actually, sadly, very common. I've taken my children sometimes to cafes or bakeries. I'll say to them, can we have a donut, for example? Does your donut contain soya, contain milk? And they'll say, oh, don't know, it wasn't baked on the premises.
And what happens if your children do eat or drink something with milk in it?
Well, they have a milk and a soya allergy. So if they're exposed to milk, they have stomach ache and stomach problems and are very miserable because of it. And they just get very mucousy and very generally run down. And the effects can last a few days. And with soya, they projectile vomit and their joints ache.
I gather one of them had to take quite a lot of time off school.
Yes, then there was a mix-up with the burger, which I specifically said, can you make sure the burger doesn't contain any soya? And it did. So she had a week off.
So when you're eating out with them, how do you go about making sure that there's no milk in what they're served?
Usually I go to places that I know they can have some of the things. And I either take somebody with me to check, or I just give them from this prescribed list of foods that I know other people with the same allergies have eaten and been okay with.
What about parties, you know, where there are all sorts of people milling around, offering food to other children? It must be very hard to police.
Yeah, it is very, very hard. My eldest is particularly good, she will ask, but my youngest is only 2. And I'm having to say to parents, look, they have a soya allergy, a milk allergy. Do you want me to provide food for them? It's very much my responsibility to make sure that what they're eating is okay.
Do you calculate how much time you have to spend on this, getting it right?
It definitely is time consuming when you think about the fact that I need to make them their own bread because bread has soya. And when I have to check lists of ingredients on my online shopping, tap on each product and make sure it's got no milk or soya. I've clicked on a product and read the list of ingredients on the online shopping app. And then I've got the product, fed it to my children. They were then poorly. So I then had to get a sighted person to look at what I'd fed them, and they said, the packaging's changed, let's see if the ingredients have changed, and they had, and the online ingredients hadn't been updated.
What else could be done to make it safer for you?
Making sure that supermarkets keep up to date, that list of ingredients on the apps and on the websites is kept completely up to date. And also there are things like seeing AI and apps that you can scan barcodes with, and making sure that under the barcode everything is registered, not just the cooking guidelines but the ingredients as well. And restaurants, if they could put their menu online, then you could read the ingredients before you go and pick what you want.
Philippa Lomas, thank you very much indeed. Well, still with us is Simon Mahoney. Now, Simon, you experienced rapid and complete sight loss 3 years ago. That was due to glaucoma, and your book tells your story. But I think you also see it as a kind of manual for those losing their eyesight. But first of all, just give us a quick idea of what you did before you lost your sight.
Oh, good grief. I was from a service family. I was lucky to go to good school. I went into the Royal Marines. That proved to be a bit of a disaster, and after 15 months it was agreed that it was not for me. I then did a number of different jobs and ended up working at an improved school in Blyth in Northumberland, which is a pretty tough place but absolutely fascinating.
We don't use that phrase, or we don't hear it so much now, an approved school, do we? Remind us what that was.
Well, the approved school was sort of pre-Borstal, which I believe has also gone, hasn't it?
Yeah.
This was back in the 1970s. The fact remains we were dealing with kids who were considered to be a danger to themselves and the public, and needed some kind of controlling environment. From there on, I spent the next 20 odd years working in various community homes with education for young offenders, or working with working boys, training them to leave care.
But you ended up running a day centre, I think, for disabled people.
Yes, I did, in Market Harborough, and that was an absolute eye-opener and a real joy. I did it for about 7 years.
So did that prepare you for what happened to you?
Not really. I thought I knew about disability. It wasn't until I actually got my current impairment that I realised I'd actually known very little about it at all.
Right, so to go back to the book and your reasons for the book, where are the gaps in what you think people should be told and what should happen to them?
I think there's a huge gap between diagnosis and registration. My own consultant, I'm a lovely chap, but when I said to him, are my eyes bad enough to be registered? He said, oh, you want to be registered, do you? Well, when you look at what registration involves and what benefits it can bring, I just found that a little bizarre.
Why are you telling people they should?
Well, first of all, you get access to support for the first time, and all the different groups like Blind Veterans, which I happen to belong to, RNIB, Macular Society and so on and so forth, they will all not only give you information about where you can get help, but also for the first time you realise you're not fighting a battle entirely on your own.
And are you saying that a lot of people are not getting this help simply because they're not registered?
I think that would be the case, and I think also the onset of sight loss is so horrifying and demoralising. It's a bereavement, if you like. A lot of people, I feel, don't actually reach the point of acceptance and moving on.
So what stopped that happening to you, would you say?
Oh, sheer bloody mindedness, I think. I think the fact that I spent some time in the Marines gave me a certain attitude to life.
You also think one of the things that's important is contact with other blind and partially sighted people.
Very much so. Sharing experiences, sharing tips, sharing information, and generally having a good laugh together about it.
How did you get that kind of access? Because it isn't immediately provided. Nobody comes and says to you, I think it'd be a really good idea if you got to know some blind people. So what happened to you?
Once I was registered, I was referred to the hospital ECLO, or I
Clinic liaison officer.
Liaison officer, thank you. I was lucky. She said to me, "Did you serve?" I said, "Well, yeah." She said, I know the people for you. And I was immediately referred to blind veterans. They were the saving of me.
What did you get from them? What happened?
What I got was a sense of proportion. When you first bowl into a blind veterans centre and everybody's taking the mickey out of each other because they can't see, you suddenly feel very grounded. Then when you hear about a young soldier in his teens who has had a limb blown off and his eyes blown out, it sort of sobers you up. And when you hear that he's actually making something of his life, it makes you feel extremely humble. In short, it gives you a sense of perspective and you realise, well, actually, all that's wrong with me is I can't see. Get a grip and get on with it.
You've also raised the idea of mentors. I mean, how would that work?
Absolutely. I feel that having gone through the experience of losing my sight, I have unimpeachable authority to support someone else through it. I know what they're feeling, I know what they're going through, I know what problems they're going to face. In fact, I'm now in the process of starting a telephone support line for blind veterans.
It's a bold claim, unimpeachable qualification.
I think it is an unimpeachable qualification because as good as the professionals are...
But no one's the same, Simon. All people will experience this differently, won't they?
Well, I make that point in my book, that sight loss is a unique and extremely personal experience for everybody.
You talk a lot about knowing how to get help, how to actually have the confidence to ask for it, and how to know when to turn it down. What's your philosophy about help?
Help is, if ever it was a poison chalice. To begin with, people are all over me like a rash. Can we help? Can we help? And I was saying, well, actually, I must try and do this for myself. So it's getting a balance between being independent and knowing when you're actually going to drop yourself in it and then being able to turn around and say, actually, I could do with some help, please.
See, I've always thought that possibly the most important thing, whether you lose your sight or you're born blind, is knowing how to have the confidence to ask for help. But it's not taught, is it, as far as I know?
No, it's not. I think when people ask for help, they fear that they're giving up their independence, they're giving over power and control to someone else. And you have to get past that and realise that actually everybody has to ask for help in some form or another at some point in their lives. So in fact, it's a very ordinary thing to do. The main thing is know what kind of help you want and have the confidence to outline it to the person who's offering that help.
So how do you deal with unwanted help? There's nothing worse than actually, because so often we aren't credited with being able to do things, when you're actually doing something in your terms really well, and somebody comes up and tries to help you do it, there isn't anything much more annoying than that.
That's the thing, isn't it? We're surrounded by two types of people who understand that we need to do things for ourselves and people who are appalled at us trying to do things. And when people rush up to you and insist on helping, I found the best way is to say to them, well, that's very kind of you. On this occasion, I really do need to do this for myself, but thank you very much anyway. The problem is if you turn somebody away, A, it disrupts their expectations about what they were going to do. B, it makes them feel rejected. And C, it makes them feel pretty hurt and hostile. And anybody who's had the offer of help turned down will know what I'm talking about. So both manners and practicality indicate that you have to be extremely careful how you turn down help, because the next time you meet that person, you might actually need their help.
You talked about gratitude burnout. What do you mean by that?
I think there are times when you know you need help, but you feel that if you have to say thank you to someone again and again and again, you get to the point of, oh God, just let me do this on my own. You can never talk about it to other people for the simple reason they think, well, ungrateful sod, But you get to the point where the very thought of having to thank somebody else for helping you just appalls you. It's a sort of kind of mental weariness, I think.
And the trouble is, for the helper, that may be the first time they've helped anybody for ages and you've told them to go away.
Absolutely. It's the most wonderful minefield you could ever wish to stray into.
You, though, have described losing your sight as a big adventure. Now, given some of the things you've said about how, difficult and terrible it has been in places, some people won't understand what you mean by that.
I find the whole thing absolutely fascinating. The way you have to alter your relationships with people, the way you have to relearn how to communicate, how you have to relearn how to do almost everything, from taking a cup down from a shelf to finding your way out your own gate. I find the whole thing absolutely fascinating. Wearing, but fascinating.
Simon Mahoney. And his book, Descent into Darkness, is currently available in hardback and on Kindle. Do let us have your reactions and your experiences. You can leave us a message on 0161 836 1338. You can email in touch at bbc.co.uk or go to our website, bbc.co.uk/in touch. And from there, as always, you can download tonight's and other editions of the programme. One piece of stop press news we reported a few weeks back on the man who had sued the company Domino's Pizza over the inaccessibility of their website. Domino's were arguing that because the Americans with Disabilities Act preceded the web, it didn't apply to their online offering. Well, now the Supreme Court has rejected their petition to rule on this, which leaves the decision against them in a lower court as still the law. So a temporary victory for the disability movement, but Domino's say they will continue to fight the case. We'll keep you posted. From me, Peter Wight, producer Emma Tracy and the team, goodbye.
Scaffolding news for Friday the 11th of October. In the Cowes area, current scaffolds at Cameo's Bath Road, Cowes, Regency House 42 High Street, Cowes, current hoarding at Jolliffe's Chandlery, Shooters Hill, Cowes, current skips at 12 Oakfield Road, East Cowes, 8 Pelham Road, Cowes, 29 Solent View Road, Gurnard, and pending cherry picker at Cowes High Street in Cowes, putting up Christmas lights between the 1st of November and the 25th of November.
And in the Newport area, current scaffolds, Age UK 114A, Pyle Street, Newport, 113 Pyle Street, St James Street, Newport, Phones U50 High Street, Newport, 17 C Street, Newport, 146 High Street, Newport, 36 Key Street, Newport, High Street, Newport, number 11, 4849 High Street, Newport.
In the Ryde area, current scaffolds 35 to 36 High Street Ryde, flats 31 to 36 Merrymead Close Ryde, Boots 170 High Street Ryde, Olivo Restaurant 32 to 33 Union Street Ryde, 79 Park Road, scaffold in Player Street Ryde, 16A Warwick Street Ryde, 9 High Street Brading, Hill House The Mall Brading, 8 and 9 East Street Ryde. Current cherry picker in 10 Pell Lane Ryde. Current skips 14 Ray Street Ryde, 20 John Street Ryde, 2 Cornwall Street Ryde, Stitching Elmers 73 to 75 High Street Ryde, adjacent 59 Binstead Lodge Road Ryde. Current building materials on the highway, junction of Green Street and Station Street Ryde.
And Sandown and Shanklin area, current scaffolds 42 Fitzroy Street, Sandown, Sandown Saver Centre, Albert Road, Sandown. Current hoardings are Premier Inn 1 to 9 Esplanade, Sandown. Current mobile crane Premier Inn, 1 to 9 Esplanade, Sandown, and current skips, Shanklin Towers, Prospect Road, Shanklin.
Ventnor area, current scaffolds, corner of Trinity Road and Madeira Road, Ventnor, 1 Boniface Road and into Trinity Road, Ventnor. Chiverton's Fish Shop, 70 High Street, Ventnor. 91A High Street, Ventnor. The Old Smithy, High Street, Godshill. And current skips at the Glebe, Spanners Close, Chale.
And in West Wight area, current scaffolds are Hurst's, 9 Squawk Green Road, Freshwater, and current skip is Runnymede, Queen's Road, Freshwater, Hurstleigh, the Broadway, Totland. Current hoardings are Elm Cottage, O'Manley Road, Yarmouth, and vehicle crossings under construction are Old School Place, Cockleton Road, Gurnard, 4 The Fairway, Lake, Brickfields Cottage, Newnham Road, Ryde, 57 Foreland Road, Bembridge, 50 Station Road, Sandown, plots half 109 to 117 Newnham Road, Ryde, 10 Inglewood Park, Ventnor, Fulling Meals, Westover, Calbourne.